Hey YouTube, just a quick update today to say happy Stonewall Day to everybody. Yeah, most of you probably know that tomorrow is the anniversary of Stonewall. I think it's the 45th anniversary this year. I'm not sure. Anyways, it's an important day to mark on your calendar every year. And I hope that young queer people these days are reading their history and are aware of it. And I particularly hope that young people are learning that trans people were a huge part of what happened at Stonewall. Um, it gets washed out of history a lot. There's a lot of talk about why a lot of people believe that that was sort of erased so that the mainstream gay movement could be more acceptable and more like pretty and polished and shit for mainstream heterosexual society, and at the expense of including trans people in it. It is so important to keep in mind that trans people were there, they were a huge part of it, and a huge part of why it happened. I mean, people were being arrested and harassed for wearing gender inappropriate clothing. Was the law at the time. You had to be wearing something like 3 pieces of gender appropriate clothing or whatever, which trans people know that that's bullshit. And people resisting that law is a huge part of why Stonewall happened. So I hope people are aware of it. There's been a lot of talk about this in Vancouver about the lack of really meaningful participation of the trans community in Vancouver Pride Society. It's a huge problem. I think it's moving in the right direction, but I know a lot of people go as far as boycotting Vancouver Pride Society because this history, this huge part of it, is just erased. And it's hard to look back now and sort of put our modern day labels on people back then because, I mean, there was a transgender community. It wasn't nearly as mainstream as now, so who knows, looking in retrospect, who out of the people involved in Stonewall would have transitioned if they lived in our time, how many call themselves trans, there, like, how many even felt they had access to that word, who knows. But I think there's definitely more than enough evidence to say that transgender people were a huge part of what happened at Stonewall, and there's even more evidence to say that there was a really intentional move to remove that history from us. So I hope that trans people are beginning to be more aware of the fact that, you know, our movement and our community isn't a new one. We've been a part of this since the beginning. We've been a huge part of it since the beginning. Um, Especially right now and this year, as trans issues are becoming a lot more mainstream, everybody's talking about it. It seems like there's this big buzz. I don't know, maybe I'm just noticing because I just came out. But stop it, it sure seems like there's a whole lot of attention and a whole lot of buzz around trans issues. So this Stonewall Day in particular, I hope everybody really can feel proud of your history and feel like this movement isn't a new thing. You know, we're not the first generation of trans people. We're responsible for a huge part of the queer community now. Anyways, I'm celebrating tomorrow with Vancouver Pride Society. We're having Eastside Pride Day here in East Van, just a few blocks from my house. I'm really looking forward to it. And read your history, kids. Do it.